Now go through a quick demonstration of the actual device and operation itself.
So first of all, you can see on the screen on our right that there's the device itself with its strapping mechanism. This little unit here is actually the wireless communications module, and you can hear it's just gone off now, which says it's not been moving for about, well, I think we've got it calibrated to about 20 seconds. I'll just show you quickly. There's that green button there is our panic button. When this one's held down for about 5 to 10 seconds, the unit itself goes off. In the middle you can see there's the red LED, which shows that the device is in need of help. On the other screen on the left here, so to actually bring it up, is the device's current state. So you can see we're here in the middle of a construction site, also known as Nova, and that's the device transmitting the information now. Yep. In a second we'll show, actually James, if you could hit the panic button for a sec. So we'll hear the panic button go off, leave it on. Yep, so the panic button's gone off, and you can see here that the information is updated live on the server. If you cancel it out, we should see it, just a tap, there we go. And we should see in a sec that it should disappear. There is a slight delay between the information going from the device to here and then being updated onto the server side of the software. Which, there we go, yeah. As I was saying, slight delay.
It's roughly about 30 seconds.
Yeah. In the field, this will actually be extended longer, but for demonstration purposes, we thought we'd make it as quick as possible. Okay, in a second, we'll show the device actually being used.
Bang!
So you can see James has stopped moving. In hopefully about 20 seconds, we should hear the buzzer go off. There we go, the buzzer goes off, and on the next update on the screen you should see all of his vital information come up again. And there we go. So that's our device working nicely, and a quick demonstration on how it all works. And that's our device crashing. You can cancel it now, James.
I'll wait for someone to come help me.
They're on the way, they'll be out in 15 minutes.
There we go, that's better. Oh, good. So, let's go. Was there any questions?
How did you know I was living in someone last night?
Just good guess, I guess.
We didn't break into medical records on us.
I'm 5'6", aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit taller than that.
Okay. I got one. You mentioned that it has multiple access capabilities. You have set to 50 in field.
Yep.
And operate at once. Is this limitation ZB or something else? Is your particular ZB chipset or?
No, we've just, actually I could probably show you the demonstration here, which is more, this should have 50 devices on it. Hang on, let me actually bring it up so that I can see it. So you can actually see on this one, if it zooms out, that we've actually got about 50 devices currently working on it at the moment.
What is the source of that limitation? Say 1/65.
Yeah, we just designed it to at least do 50, so that's what we've got running on there at the moment. We can run more. We can, I think you ran...
I've ran 500 devices, so it's all going to be limited on the hardware. So the Zigbee network, whilst that in the local area, you'll have a limitation in the local area, but in another area, all the data is still coming in. Yep. And then the main limitation will be the server processing power. So how many markers can it actually process?
So this 50 now is the software server.
Yeah, it's just
yeah. So we've got a little simulator that just creates 50 units on there and randomly moves them around in the background.
So there's 50 isn't a limitation.
Yeah.
It can go up to quite a few thousand with very little notice of the server power.
Yeah. Yes.
You talked a bit about how you had a bit of trouble with the wireless network not being that reliable. What are your thoughts for improving that? What could happen to improve it?
Well, the big thing on this, like if you were to continue using the XP standard, is the more devices you've got there, the more network coverage you get. As I said before, we have designed it for customization. So if we wanted to use, say, the UHF network or one of the officer networks, we could use something like a frequency shift key. The amount of data that we transfer through the network is very, very low. So it means you could have a lot of devices transferring information across the network at the one time.
You mentioned the possibility of being able to track a fallen officer with a directional antenna.
Yep.
Is that just an idea, or is it something you've tried?
We haven't actually tried it yet. I do know that the XP module itself continually transmits, just sits there and it's just a send receive 802.15 connection if you want to look into that one. So theoretically it should be trackable with a directional antenna. We haven't actually tested it because we haven't had time to test it. It is something we can do. But
I have two possibilities.
Yeah.
Both bad.
Yeah.
One is that if you can do it, it's another one of those negatives about because it's not an encrypted channel.
Yeah.
Whereas the data coming through is encrypted, just being able to track the radio source isn't encrypted.
Yeah.
Is it spread spectrum or anything like that?
Honestly, not sure.
Sorry, Zigbee.
Spread,
I think one of them should be, because it's reasonably low power and very
I suspect it's going to be really hard to...
We did actually consider that it wasn't an encrypted channel,
Right.
but we decided that because we were simply proving the concepts, we would prove the concept with this equipment.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So if it was going to be implemented,
Track by radio, you can
And realistically, if it was to be implemented in emergency services, they wouldn't want to use something like this anyway. That's just really nice for testing.
Question on the actual, you mentioned the spikes of the inertial sensors.
Yep.
How bad is it? Do you have an example somewhere to show you?
Actually, I
James
could probably
said
show
about
you this. Is the unit still on, or did you turn it off?
I've taken the battery out.
Um,
We don't have any graphs of these spikes,
Yeah.
but you occasionally get outliers in the data.
Why averaging, not say median filtering seems to make more sense if it's occasional spikes?
we decided to go with averaging because it seemed more logical to take, because it takes basically it's like 5 samples and averages them out.
Yeah. But you're still affected by large outliers.
And the main thing, like the main reasoning behind it, and actually I can show you this here because I do actually have these.
Still on screen.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So this is an example of the output, and we've got it for testing to actually show all that. So these are the actual averages here, and you can see the first average is always a spike, and that's just something inherent to do with the Arduino setup that we've currently got on there, as well as the analog reads through the Arduino. So we've always got a spike, and then it plateaus off for the next one. So these are when the unit was actually sitting still. So you can see that the averages, there is that spike. So we essentially compare these 4 averages on each of the 3 axes, and then determine whether we think there's been enough change in them to calibrate it as a movement, because the accelerometer itself does float a bit. If I was to just leave it sitting there, these would range from about 603, let's say, to about 600 to about 607, 608.
So with the outputs are analog?
Yep.
I've seen that before where the first reading is always high.
Yeah.
It has to do with the setup time on the...
Yep.
And we determined that range through a lot of testing on the accelerometer data, so we could have said 2 either side of the first value, but who's to say that's tolerable or not. So there was a fair bit of testing involved in that. So I think that's a... All right, Carol.
Sorry. Did you have any thoughts about how to make this more attractive to police officers?
That's a good one. We did have that interview with the police officer, and he says that they have their own departments which would have rigorous testing, and they don't really disclose which communication meetings they use. So to actually have the system implemented, we'd have to patent it and then hand it over to them to sort out themselves. So they create it how they specifically want it.
One point that James did point out is that we don't actually broadcast the GPS signal the whole time unless they're actually in distress. So that way it might be more attractive when they're not always being monitored. It's only when they need to. So
and the other thing that we didn't actually mention that he brought up in the interview is that they do carry about 6 to 10 kilos of...
I think it's 7 to 8 kilos.
Yeah, 7 to 8 kilos of equipment around their belt. So if they were going to have something, it needs to be light, it needs to be thin, and needs to not get in the way. Which, if it was to be migrated to a single PCB, it would reach most of the specifications.
That brings out a nice little question I want to round it off.
Yep.
It seems that you found matching pieces of smartphone in this. Is it just plug and play, or
yep.
how much more work you have to do?
Yep. No, more or less it was plug and play. We needed to make a few changes in terms of that GPS serial side of things. The GPS serial connection that the smartphone board gives you doesn't like not being read the whole time. So we had a lot of trouble in terms of multitasking between the two, so we had to fiddle with the buffer a bit, as well as adjust a few of the pinouts, especially when in relation to the stock stuff that they give you in terms of libraries on the Arduino changed to fit the boards that we used as well. So it wasn't just purely plug and play, but realistically it wasn't that far off.
We were well under the budget, so you might as well.
Yeah, and we have looked into shrinking down the PCB, and there's a few pre-built solutions out there at the moment that would be similar, but there's parts that we'd like to remove from those as well.
In terms of being under budget though, we have actually looked into how we could effectively use that last bit of budget and extend the wireless range and things like that.
Yeah.
A bit later.
Do you intend to take it further? Is this the end of the road for this project, or are you going to...
There's still a few things that, like, even with the current hardware and software we've got, that we'd like to change to make it more reliable, and just add a few extra features on that.
I mean, for the sake of this project, or are you going to continue this after you leave and try and make a business out of this?
That's a lot for discussion, I think.
Yeah.
But in terms of continuing the work, I think the focus now is going to be the final report, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us really had too many ambitions about taking it further outside of this little project. But yeah, it's definitely an option we can all consider. So
I was just curious.
I actually think healthcare implications for this application is more attractive than for emergency.
Yeah. That's one thing.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Thank you very much, guys.
No,
Thanks. Actually, there's a tomato sauce pouch in my shirt here. I hid on the way down and it didn't actually burst. I was trying to burst it too afterwards, but it seems actually quite tough. I'm sort of disappointed.